So you're away on holiday and you end up with a water leak. Let's say the tap is just leaking out of nowhere. It just starts leaking out of the body of the tap. That could be the kitchen tap, could be the bathroom tap, could be the shower tap. What do? Well, first of all, you want to turn the pump off, and that reduces the pressure, and then you want to run a tap until that water pressure reduces. If it's leaking hot water, then you're going to want to run some hot water as well, just to release that pressure within the water system. Once you've reduced the pressure, then the leak is going to stop, or it's going to just become a bit of a dribble, and that's then going to allow you to work on the tap itself. There is no quarter turn adjustment you can make to isolate any of the taps, so unfortunately you're going to have to do something, otherwise whenever you turn that pump on you're going to end up with a leak. So this happened to me last week. I was in France and the shower tap sprang a leak. It just started running. For me, it started to leak as soon as I started to use the tap. It didn't, fortunately for me, it didn't just spring a leak when I wasn't using it, because that could have been a bit of a problem. Fortunately it was the shower tap, which was above the shower tray, and it just ran into the shower tray. If that had been the kitchen tap and I wasn't here, that could have been a bit more of a problem. But anyway, I've got a leaking tap and I need to do something about it. So I either need to get hold of a cartridge for inside the tap, or I need to get hold of an actual tap unit with the pigtail pipes off the back of it and all of the things that entail with that. Or I need to find some way of stopping the water pipes themselves. I did consider disconnecting the shower and finding some end stops for the push fit connectors, but I actually didn't find any of those. I did find the cartridge that I thought I needed, and luckily it was the cartridge I needed to go in the tap itself. So today I thought I'd show you how to go about changing that cartridge, because having changed mine, I'm not happy with the fit and I want to redo it. So given that I've got to take it apart again, I thought I'd take you along for the ride and show you what's inside the tap. So this is the offending tap, and we need to remove this part to get inside this cylinder here. What we're looking for is this assembly here. So this is the old one, and this was apparently the bit that was leaking, although I can't see any physical damage on it, to be fair. Now, given that you're away in the van, you're not going to have unlimited tools with you. So we're going to have to be realistic about what you've got available in the van, what you should have with you for an emergency, and how you can get around using things that you haven't got access to. So let me show you the tools that I ended up using, and then you can decide whether or not you feel that it's worth taking those tools with you on a regular basis, just in case. First of all, these pliers, I couldn't have done it without these. So they are adjustable grip. These saved the day. PTFE tape. When I put the new cartridge in and put it together, it still leaked. So I took it apart again and I put some PTFE tape in. It may just be that I didn't seat it right, but I used some of that and it stopped the leak. This, you're not going to have one of these. Realistically, it's not going to be part of your toolkit, but the cartridge itself does need a 30mm socket, ideally. But I'll come back to this in a minute and show you why this was no good. And then a toolkit with tiny bits of different screwdriver bits. So you're going to need a tiny screwdriver, and you're going to need an Allen key. So these bits were quite useful. So let's just make things a little bit easier for us so I can show you. I'm going to take off the hose underneath I'm just keeping the washer safe. So now you can see this assembly, and we're going to need to take this circular chrome bit out of the middle here. Okay, keep it to one side, keep it safe. These plastic bits also come out, but we'll leave them there just for now. It just so happens that I had an Allen key of the right size. This was with my wheel clamp, but it was just handy that it was the right size. This needs to go in the centre, and I'm going to unscrew normally. Try not to drop it. And then that literally comes off. The next part you need is this silver collar. This unscrews. Easier said than done. Now here we go. Right, it is coming off now. Right, so that unscrews, and then it leaves this black ring, and that was the bit that was really difficult to remove. So let me show you. I eventually bought this 30mm socket, and although it does kind of fit, it doesn't go inside this gap, so you're only able to get purchase on the very outside of the ring. And the very outside of the ring, there's actually a gap on the inside of it. So there's not really, it kind of flexes. So I'm trying to undo that. All it's doing really is rounding it off. So that hasn't helped me at all. So I'm going to put that to one side. That's why I don't think it's realistic for you to carry that. It's quite a hefty thing as well. It didn't really help me in the end. What I ended up doing was literally grabbing hold of it, of the bit that I could see with these, and distorting the plastic ever so slightly, but it was the only way I could get this off. So grabbing that as tight as I can, and then turning. You need to stop the tap spinning as well at the same time, which I'm trying to do it without blocking your view. I've not reduced the pressure. Okay, so back to this again, and we'll just undo this again. So you can't really do it with your fingers. Okay, so I've got it off with these only, and it is a 30mm. It does fit in this, fits quite snugly in that, but you can't get that around it because this tap outer housing is in the way. So now that we've removed that, we then literally just pull this out. And I've wrapped PTFE tape around the back of this, but the original is this one, and as you can see it didn't have PTFE tape on it, but when I put this one in originally it still leaked a bit, and I was in a rush and I thought I just needed to stop it happening, so I ended up putting PTFE tape on it and then putting it back in. So my advice to you would be to carry some PTFE tape. I managed to pick some up at a local hardware shop. When you put one in, when you put your replacement in, you have to turn it until basically until those two lugs find the corresponding sockets in the back of this housing. Okay, so that's in nice and snug, and now I can put that black ring back in. Be careful because this is only plastic, you don't want to cross thread it. And then unfortunately you're going to need to repeat, you're going to need to use this pliers method and try and tighten this up as best you can. Okay, I'm not sure how tight it needs to be, but it's there or thereabouts. Okay, so next we need to put this temperature control ring back on, and again we don't want to cross thread it. Now the reason I'm showing you this is because this didn't line up and it's still not lining up. There's an uneven gap between this housing and that ring, and I was just hoping to tidy that up. Why is it still there? Okay, I'm unable to do anything about that. It just doesn't seem to want to go flush anymore. I wonder whether that black plastic thing's not in far enough. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this needs to be tighter. And maybe it's not going tight enough because it's got the PTFE tape on it. Maybe that's making it so that it's not seating. Let's try taking that off again and see if we can get it to work without. Okay, so I've removed the PTFE tape. Okay, now that's seated. Okay, so we'll put that ring back in. So maybe it was leaking before because this wasn't tight enough. Okay, I'm struggling to get that any tighter than that. Just doesn't want to turn anymore. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to seat any better now. Actually no, that's not seating any better than it was before. Let's put the pump on and see what happens. So I've put the pump back on. I can hear the pump running. What happened last time was that it got almost up to pressure and then it started leaking. So we'll wait until the pump stops running because that'll tell us it's up to pressure. Okay, so the pump has stopped running, which tells us it's up to pressure. So in theory, this is now a working system. So we'll put the shower hose back on. So this control knob here, we push it to one side, there we go. Okay, push that to one side again. Okay, shower. Turn it from one side to another, and then we'll push it back to the centre and it's stopped. So I didn't need the PTFE tape. I clearly hadn't done the black ring up tight enough when I did it when I was away. So we've redone that. We can now put everything back together again. So this blue piece of plastic has fallen out. And then the little screw into the corner, into the middle. Which way around does that go? Now, for some reason, that blue and that red doesn't seem to line up for me. Let's compare a photo from before I took the tap off. Okay, so actually I couldn't see that there. How strange. Okay, but the red and the blue, if you take those pieces out, you'll realise that they only go in one way, so you can't actually get that wrong. So I'm just going to have to put it back together as it is. It just seems odd that the blue is on the bottom here, but on this ring the blue is at the top. I suppose if this ring was tighter, the blue, if it went round, then the blue would be at the bottom, or if it was looser, then it would be at the bottom on that side. How strange. What we could do is turn that around so that I can't see it. Ah, okay, right. Because that needs to tilt that way. And like I said before, this is now catching on this outer collar. And that's why I wanted to take it off. Why is it catching? I wonder if it needs to be tighter. Or maybe just that cartridge is a different length. Maybe that cartridge is a different length here. But it's ever so slightly catching on that corner. That's not ideal. So in dismantling it and putting it back together again to show you, I was hoping to have made this sit better, but it's not doing, and I think it's simply because the shaft is slightly different on this copy part, whatever part this is. It does work, it's just that it's catching and it's annoying, that's all. What happens if I slacken that off? Does it make it worse or better? Actually, it makes it slightly better. But now that's loose. Okay, it'll have to do for now. It's working and it's not leaking. So the last thing to do is just pop that back in. Okay, so that's not absolutely ideal, but we have fixed the situation. It's not leaking, it does work, and for the rest of my holiday that would have been sufficient. I'm going to look into that a little bit more closely and see if I can get that to fit a bit better, but in the meantime that's good enough when you're out on holiday and you've not got the bits that you need. So my advice to you is get yourself some of these. You need an Allen key and you need a small screwdriver just to pick out the end cap. But apart from that, I would advise you to have some PTFE tape. It's only a couple of quid and it's light, it's not taking up much space. It's worth having just to hopefully get you by if you do have a leak. Hopefully this comes in handy for you, and again, if this is helpful to you, please subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know, and you'll be notified of anything that I release in future, which is probably going to be useful to you anyway, as well. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.